Okay, boys and girls. Yeah, let me get this microphone where it's supposed to be. And welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. I'm here flying solo tonight, so who knows what'll happen. Um, I'm on call with the railroad, so I'm a little bit nervous. As long as the phone doesn't ring, we are good to go. If it does ring, I'm not sure what we're going to do. We'll figure it out. It'll be fun. All right. Okay. Well, we've got an interesting topic this evening, so I'm excited to see what comes of that. And I believe we may have a surprise appearance from Santa himself. So we'll have to see how that shakes up. Stand by here one moment. I have to attend to one of the machines. Be right back. I think you can still hear me. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to scoot over here and I'm going to do this. There we go. Okay, so that guy should be good to go. Now, hopefully, if we do have an interruption in the stream, I'll be able to see it and respond to it pretty quickly. But for those of you who have my contact info, if you do notice an interruption in the stream, please shoot me a text. I'll hear the phone ding and I'll look down at it and I'll see your notification there, and that'll give me a quick response to deal with it. And all right, let me go back here. There we go. Okay, we are about 2 minutes away from starting this thing up, so bear with me while I wet the whistle. And the mute button is way over there, so you're going to have to deal with my periodic coughing. Hopefully that won't be very much tonight. Okay, I think we are good to go. Now let's see, what does this one look like? Yeah, that's a weird angle. Okay. Stand by one. Mercy. Okay. 1 minute to go. I should see if I can find the script. I knew there was one more thing. There's probably more than one more thing. But I knew there was something else that I needed to do before it was time to pull the trigger on this thing. And it just now occurred to me, it's the script. I don't have the script. So let me see if I can find that. Open Sesame and Documents. Net Control Script. Which version do I want? Doesn't matter. I won't read it properly anyway. Okay. Where do I put it? It's in the way no matter where I put it. I have this giant monitor in front of me and I still don't have anywhere to put it. Let's see if I move this up. I don't really need to see that. Okay. That should be fine. Really, it should be right there so I can read it and look somewhat at the camera. Okay, it is time. Actually, it's about a half a minute past time. So let's go ahead and make this thing happen. What do you think? Here we go. Good evening, and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. I'll be working off the Pine Log repeater this evening, but we are linked in with the following repeaters: Crawford, Sassafras, Jersey, Somerville, Lookout Mountain, Madison, Ball Ground, McDonough, Noonan, Zebulon, Columbus, Moreland, and the VoIP service. Tonight, our RF coverage is approximately 31,000 square miles, but our VoIP coverage is global. Any place you have internet access, you can access the North Georgia GMRS regional net. This net takes place Thursday evenings at 7:30 p.m. I need to edit the script. I would like to thank everyone who has made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Tonight, your net control is Atlanta 946, WQYR 514. My name is Justin, and I am located at Studio B here in Woodstock, Georgia. On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think easy for you to say, anything that you think we would like to hear. Let me break one moment. Right back into this. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved, and particularly this evening, we would love to hear from the little ones, but that's just fine. Once the floor is open, it is permissible to address other members of the net by name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in or sign out of the net. When signing in, please speak slowly and clearly as you give your tactical unit number, your name, your call sign, and your location. Let me break. At this time, we'll take check-ins. Any VoIP check-ins? Anyone checking in through Zello, please call Net Control now.
This is 253 WQNV 274, Donald from Blairsville, Georgia. This is Noonan 25, Joe, WRCL 957. I will be short time tonight, Justin.
Okay, Net Control acknowledging Atlanta 253 Donald in Blairsville and Noonan 25 Joe in Fayetteville. Joe, I've got you in a log as in and out. Thank you for that short time contact this evening, and we look forward to hearing from you next time. Next on my list, let's go ahead and open it. Ouch. Ouch, that hurts. That little clip thing on my push-to-talk button. Pinching my finger. Sorry about that. Next on the list, let's go to any visiting transient licensed GMRS operators or new members of the North Georgia GMRS network. This is any licensed GMRS operator who is not a GMRS member but would like to check in, or any new members or youth members 18 and under. That's a big old mouthful, but basically we want to hear from anybody that is a youth member or a guest or a visitor to the area. Please call Net Control now. Okay, I'm hearing crickets. Crickets. No youth members. Oh, Santa Claus is listening, you guys. He's monitoring tonight. I know that it's true. Okay, well then, I'll try not to hurt myself on the push-to-talk button this time. Okay, hearing no youth members and no guest check-ins, we'll move on next to Pine Log check-ins. Anyone wishing to check in to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net from the Pine Log repeater, please call Net Control now. One at a time.
This is Atlanta 123, WRFP 619, Tim in Woodstock, Georgia.
This is 180, Mike, WRB 591, in Cherry Log, Georgia. Atlanta
at 299 WRJE 398, Steve in Roswell, Georgia.
This is Atlanta 555, Dave in Marietta.
Atlanta 442, WRAH 210, Craig in Ackworth.
This is Atlanta 414, WRJR 877, Matt in Kennesaw.
Okay, got a good start right there, and excellent job at reading off your call signs and names at a pace that I could actually enter into the computer and keep up. I'm kind of impressed with that. First on my list after the VOIP check-ins was Atlanta 123, Tim in Woodstock. Thank you, Tim, for checking in with us this evening. It's great to hear from you. Next I have Atlanta 180, Mike in Cherry Log. Mike, thanks for checking in tonight. You got a great signal. Looking forward to talking with you. And we have Atlanta 299, Steve in Roswell. Steve, you sound terrific tonight. And I have Atlanta 555, Dave in Marietta. Dave, it's great to hear from you. Looking forward to catching up with you here in a little bit. And we have Atlanta 442, Craig in Ackworth. Craig, thanks for checking in. And finally, I have Atlanta 414, Matt in Kennesaw. Matt, it's great to hear from you, and looking forward to talking with you here in just a little bit. Do we have any more Pine Log check-ins? Please call Net Control now.
This is. Hey, this is Atlanta 26. WREB 450. Flip in beautiful Druid Hills. Hope you're doing well, Justin. Checking in.
All right, Atlanta 26, Flip in Druid Hills. Appreciate you checking in with us tonight, Flip. Looking forward to hearing from you, and we will catch up with you here in just a little bit. At this time, I'll go ahead and open up our check-ins to any repeater anywhere, including the Pine Log repeater and VOIP check-ins and youth and new members, guests, etc. Anyone that would like to check in, please call Net Control now.
This is Atlanta 948, WRAR 430, Gary, Woodstock. Check me in and out, Justin.
This is WRAT 241, Atlanta 403. Bobby up in White County, and the log's not showing up on the live feed.
Yeah, sure enough. All right. Let's see here.
172, WRHW 610, Greg from Bremen. Good evening, everyone on the net.
Thank you, Flip, for getting that log for me.
This is Tim in Stockbridge, McDonough 22, WRCR 952. Good evening, everyone.
Okay. All right, somehow our log has gotten out of sync, and I see that I have some help in here, and I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that and bring my log up to date. So I have, after Gary in Woodstock, let's see, I have Atlanta 948 Gary in Woodstock checking in and out with us this evening. Gary, thank you for your check-in. I've got you in the log, and hope you have a great evening. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 403, Bobby in White County. Bobby, I believe you doubled with 780, but that's okay. We'll get you both logged in here. But also in that, I have Atlanta 172, Greg in Bremen. For whatever reason, Flip, when you entered those values into the log, I see everybody from Flip on down. On the log that's going out over the live stream, but on my log, Gary was the last entry. So next on my list, I have Atlanta 780, which is different from yours, Flip, but that's okay. Houston in Austell. Thank you, Houston, for checking in with us this evening. We're always a pleasure to hear from you. I'm kind of multitasking here as I update the one log from information off of the other log. Then finally I have McDonough 22, Tim in Stockbridge. Let's see. How do I spell Tim in Stockbridge? There we go. Something like that. And none of this is showing up on the live stream log. So I'm not sure how we have that disconnected, but we are definitely out of sync, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do to get it back in sync. So we might just have to live without the log on a live stream this evening. Sorry about that, folks, but if I get a moment, I'll see if I can figure it out, or maybe Flip can poke around at it and see if he can get things up to date. I don't know. Okay, so that's where we're at. We have McDonough 22 is our last check-in. Do we have any additional check-ins on the North Georgia GMRS regional net? Please call net control now. Any repeater, anywhere.
This is WRCU 869, CW14, Steve in Athens. Be checking in and out.
This is Atlanta 60, WQYU 407, Gary and Noonan. Good evening, everybody.
Okay, net control is going to go ahead and acknowledge CW14 Steve in Athens. Steve, you sound fantastic tonight. I've got you in the log here as in and out. It's great to hear from you, and looking forward to catching up with you again real soon. And we have Atlanta 60, Gary in Noonan. Gary, it's fantastic to hear from you as well. Looking forward to hearing your comments here in just a little while. So I think we have a pretty good start, so we'll go ahead and roll things on up to the top and get some comments and find out what people are thinking about in terms of Christmas gifts this year. And we'll see if we have an appearance at some point along the way by a special guest. So hopefully things are going well at the North Pole, and production is on schedule, and everybody is getting their handcrafted, customized, special edition gifts created at this very moment. But Donald, Atlanta 253, you're first on my list. So what magical gifts have you enjoyed in the past, or what do you hope to get this year?
Well, I haven't been good this year, so I'll have to try for next year. I guess I'm going to get coal for Christmas.
coal for Christmas. Well, what have you gotten in the past that you really enjoyed or that you thought was a very cool gift?
I got a drone from my brother several years ago.
Ah, a drone. I've never tried to fly a drone or had a drone or messed with any drones, but that is something that sounds like it could be a lot of fun to learn how to fly a drone and get some pictures and that sort of thing. That and it could be a useful tool. I know that they use drones on the railroad for bridge inspections to get into places where it's hard to get to, with equipment or to get eyes on. They can put a drone in different places and do inspections on bridges, and that's been a money saver and a time saver. So that's been a neat thing. So there's lots of things that can be done with drones and useful things. So that could be a very cool gift. All right, Donald. Well, let us know how much coal that you get this winter, and if it's enough to heat for the season, or if you're going to have to cut wood in addition. I hope that you at least get that covered. Thank you for that, Donald. We'll next move on to, excuse me a moment, Noonan 25, Joe in Fayetteville. Joe was in and out with us this evening, so thank you, Joe, for checking in. We'll catch up with you again soon. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 123, Tim in Woodstock. Tim, what do you hope to get with? Stand by one moment here. Stand by one moment. I think we have an opportunity for a special appearance. Let me break and see. Tim, stand by. We'll come back to you here in a moment. Do we have a special guest available now? Ho, ho, ho. I hear a carrier from Noonan, but I don't hear any audio. Well, stand by while we take a look at what was happening with that technical difficulty right there. I think we've got some elves taking a look at it at this moment, and we'll see if Santa can come back to us here briefly. Tim in Woodstock. Tim, what special gifts have you received in the past, and what do you hope to get this year?
Well, I guess some of my fondest memories of Christmas would be back at my grandparents' farm where my mom and I lived for quite a few years. And she used to do present hunts or treasure hunts for me. I would open a gift and it would have a clue, and I would follow that clue to the next clue. And, I could go through quite a few of those different stages, 10 or so, up and around the house and in the refrigerator, and no telling what Mom could come up with until I finally found my gift. Usually it was larger items like a basketball goal that, of course, couldn't really be wrapped up. But she took me all over the house and finally ended up down in the basement where I found it. And other times when a gift didn't come in, she would wrap up like a heavy rock and put a note with a picture of what I was supposed to get because it hadn't arrived. One year it was a stereo. I forget it was from J.C. Penney's or Monkey Ward's, but it was one of those that had AM, FM, 8-track, cassette, and a record player on top. You remember one of those with a little plastic container or lid on top. But those are the fondest memories. Not really wanting anything special this year. I tend to get what I want these days, but I enjoy this time of year. Back to net control.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yes, that sounds like a great way to do Christmas. And I know we have always tried to make it something memorable and special for the kids, and that sounds like that your family did that as well. a treasure hunt Christmas. That's a great idea. That sounds a lot better than a lump of coal, which is a gift that I've actually given to my mother-in-law. So we have had some fun along the way. I think that the elves have hammered away the bugs, and we may have an opportunity to try one more time for a connection to the North Pole. Let's see what we've got.
Merry Christmas, Santa 1 here, WQYU 888. GMRS network. Sorry about the technical issues there. We've got a mischievous elf up here at the North Pole, and his name is Demarius, and I'll be doggone if Demarius didn't sneak in here and turn my microphone off on me. So, doggone it, we'll take care of him later. But I hope everyone's having a wonderful, wonderful holiday season. We're very, very busy up here at the North Pole, as I'm sure you know. And but we are looking forward to paying you all a visit on Christmas Eve.
Well, that is fantastic, Santa, and I know that you've got a long list. We've had one member already that believes he's on the naughty list, so I hope that is a very short list this year. But it's great to hear from you, and I know that you're very, very busy, so we'll let you get back to overseeing work in the workshop there, so that the packages can be ready at the designated time. It's fantastic to hear from you, and let me break real quick and see if you have any additional comments.
Well, I will tell you that there is nobody here in the North Georgia GMRS network that's on the naughty list at this point, although there are a few that are marginal, so keep that in mind. But so far, everybody is awfully nice with us. Yeah, we're going to get back to work here. As I say, we've got a lot of wishes to fill, a lot of dreams to fulfill, and a lot of love and caring to bring along with us in this unusual holiday season. So I just wanted to drop in here. I thank you for letting me stop in and checking in from the North Pole with you all.
Well, thank you very much, Santa. We are very glad to hear from you and very excited for your coming visit. So we'll let you get back to work. And once again, thanks for taking some time out and visiting with the North Georgia GMRS crew. It's fantastic to hear from you. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you and each and every one of you out there. Have a blessed holiday season. Santa 1, WQYU 888. I'll be clear.
Okay, we need to get Santa logged in here and get him in and out. So thank you very much for that contact, Santa, and we hope that you have an enjoyable evening up there at the North Pole. And next on my list, we have Atlanta 180, Mike in Cherry Log. Mike, can you tell us about your memorable Christmas past, and what are you hoping for Christmas this year?
My most memorable Christmas past as a child followed the probable precinct of my children. We exchanged a lot of homemade presents, and they were the best. What I hope for this Christmas is, I don't know, for the last 10 years, I buy myself Christmas presents the whole month of December. And it's probably like that pair of shoes you ordered. It'll probably be some more radios or maybe something for my automobiles. I don't know, but as long as I've been buying my own presents, I I've never got a pair of socks, and I've never been disappointed. Yeah, the old days, good days.
All right, Mike. Yeah, there is something about that. The older that we get, the more often we tend to buy presents, uh, things of that nature. I suppose that's just something that happens as time goes on, and yeah, I can relate to that. Although I'll tell you, I as a child I was always disappointed in things like socks and underwear in my Christmas presents, but seems like that was always part of the deal. But as an adult, I tend to get some pretty colorful Christmas underwear from my kids, and sometimes that is quite the surprise, and it's always a lot of fun. So it's a kind of a turnabout that has turned into a game, I suppose. So that's been fun stuff. Well, it's great to hear from you, Mike, and I hope that you're able to find just the right radio for Christmas this year. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 299, Steve in Roswell. Steve, what are your memorable Christmas pasts, and what are you hoping for Christmas this year?
Hi, everybody. Gosh, there were so many as a kid growing up. I mean, every Christmas was something great. It seemed like, as a kid that Christmas was a lifetime apart from year to year, and now they seem to stack up. Just by the time one's over, there's a new one. But as a kid, there were many great ones. My first horse, my first gun, my first guitar, among many other things. Nowadays, though, people tend to buy me more of things that I like to use, such as I like to brew beer. I like, a bag of grain is always good. And things like that. As far as this year, I've already bought myself my biggest Christmas present, which is a Yaesu FT 991A all mode radio, and my XYL. She's going to be looking for a particular microphone that hadn't been made in a long time, which I'm not going to name the name of it because I don't want everybody to go start looking for them. But anyway, yeah, that's about it. Christmas is always great.
Fantastic, and just want to take this opportunity to say thanks to Flip for filling the log back in as we go. Appreciate your efforts there, Flip. I don't know why we're out of sync. I'll have to research how that happened and see what we can do to resolve that in the future. But appreciate your efforts there. But yeah, Steve, first gun, first guitar, first horse. Those are all big things. And I'm assuming those are things from your youth. I've never had homemade beer, but I do know a handful of people that have been making it, and that would be something very interesting to try at some point. I have had some homemade distillates, a whiskey, things of that nature, and I am wholly unimpressed. But maybe there's better stuff out there than I've experienced. But in any case, the stuff that I buy in a bottle is always a treat for me. But I've never been much of a beer drinker, but I would certainly like to try some of the homemade brews and just to get an idea of what the differences are in flavor from that to, what you pop a top on a can, what that is. So that's interesting stuff. And yes, the Yaesu radio would make an excellent Christmas gift for just about anyone. And I'm not sure what microphone you're looking for, so I'm not going to try to dig in and find it. But microphones that's one of the things that we've spent a lot of money on here in the studio, and we finally settled on these headset mics through the Heil Pro microphones. I've got the Heil Pro 6 and the Heil Pro 7 is what I have on now, and that seems to be the best that we've had so far. But I think that there's probably still room to improve. I have been thinking hard about getting some broadcast quality headsets and with balanced audio out. That's the thing with these consumer headsets that we're using now. As good as they sound, the audio is unbalanced, and so it has to be run through a transformer before I can run it through the board, and then it comes through a transformer again when it comes out of the board into the radio. And so we're doing a lot of extra work, and I think that if we had a better microphone with a balanced output, we could at least eliminate one of those steps. But great to hear from you, Steve, and best wishes on your visit from Santa this year on that microphone. Next on my list I have Atlanta 555, Dave in Marietta. Dave, tell us about your memorable Christmas past and what you're hoping for this year.
Before I answer the question, though, I just want to thank everybody that responded to my Facebook post the last couple of days and helping me get Chirp going, and especially shout out to Atlanta 180 Mike. He had the fix, and now I was able to program my radio, and I'm a happy camper.
Excellent.
I was going to talk about my most memorable Christmas present being first bike as a child, but I have a better one, a funny story. We were newly married, newly moved into a house, and my wife decided to buy me a floor jack, to jack your car up. Not a bottle jack, but a full-size floor jack.
Excellent.
So we had a buddy of ours, I guess she had a buddy of ours purchase it. It was over at his house, and we went over to dinner at his house one night. And I guess while we were relaxing, he went down and put the floor jack into my car in the back. And after dinner, my wife and I drive home, and every time I made a turn, this floor jack would slide over from one side of the trunk to the other. And I was curious and said, "My, what the heck is going on?" And she said, just ignore it. And matter of fact, the funny thing is, after we got home, next day she had to have the neighbor come and hoist it out of the trunk of the car and get it up under the tree because it was so dang heavy. So I'll never forget that. One of the best Christmas presents I ever had, because I was able to use it on my vehicles. So yep, that's what I remember. And back to you, Justin.
Fantastic. Yes, I also have a story about a particular package riding around in the trunk of the car, but I'll save that for another time. But yes, I could just imagine as you're telling the story, I'm envisioning the sound and the sensation of a large metal object rolling around across the floor of the trunk as you're driving home and making the noises, and who in the world is back there trying to get out of the trunk? So that would be a very memorable Christmas gift. What are you hoping to get coming up this year?
I'm newly inducted into this GMRS thing. I'm hoping for another radio. I just problem is I haven't figured out what I want, so I can tell the wife to get it. So it may not be under the tree this year, but I see a new radio in my future. And Merry Christmas to everybody on the net, and you too, Justin. Back to you.
Fantastic, Dave. Well, that's great stuff, and yeah, there are so many choices out there, and I've got a bunch of Kenwood radios. There are plenty of folks out here that love the Motorola radios and the ICOM radios, and man, that list just never ends. So I guess you just have to figure out what camp you want to be in, and there's nothing wrong with any of them. They are all great radios, and in my book, if it gets you on the air, that's good enough. And so I don't really have any objection to the Bofang radios, the BTECs, and all of that. They serve their purpose. They're great entry-level radios. They're great radios to have in situations where and I'll tell you one thing that I love about the BTEC radios. I've purchased probably 4 of them, and we have one still here. I give them away. I use them for a while, and then when the circumstance is right, and I encounter someone who has the right level of interest and the a demonstration of some passion, I give the radio away. And I don't want to give away my Kenwood radios, but I don't mind giving away the BTECs. So I don't have I don't have any sort of distaste for any of the radios. I think that if they get you on the air, then that's what it's all about. So hopefully you find the radio that you want for Christmas, and whether it comes under the tree or installed in your vehicle or whatever the case may be. I also love a bass install, so I love having this radio here on the desk as I'm working through the day, hearing the various QSOs that go on back and forth. Always enjoy that. So good luck with that this year, Dave, and thanks for that story about the floor jack. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 442, Craig in Ackworth. Craig, what memorable Christmas pasts can you tell us about?
Hey, Justin. Good evening, everybody on the net. Oh, man, I've got three that come to mind. I'll try to go through them real quick. Going back 1978-ish. Oh, man, I got some walkie-talkies. I believe they were from Radio Shack. I don't remember what brand they were, but they had the Morse code on them. So that, of course, propelled the realism of our BB gun wars, to say the least. And I don't remember how long they lasted. It seemed like back then, all that plastic stuff was pretty brittle, and stuff like that broke pretty easy. So I don't really recall how long I had them, but I remember using them and having a blast with them. And then maybe a couple years later, probably 81-ish, I got a little Corvette. It wasn't an RC car, it was a computer command car. You opened the hood and it had a keypad that controlled all the directions and the lights and the sounds that the car made, and you could program it to do whatever kind of course you wanted it to do and then execute it, and it would basically mimic what you programmed. And that was a real cool toy. But I think the coup de grace was probably my first computer in '84, the venerable Commodore 64. Interesting to have that computer and have kind of modernized it. I actually have an SD card reader that mimics the floppy drive, and of course you can store a lot more files on an SD card than you could back on those 5 1/4 floppies back in the day. But I still have my working disk drive, the monitor, all that good stuff, even a tape drive unit, if you can believe that.
Wow.
But this year, I don't know if I asked Santa for any radio gear. I've got plenty of stuff here to play with right now. I'm kind of hoping Santa's going to bring me an ultrasonic cleaner for my shop for cleaning carburetors and gun parts. Back to net.
Oh, very nice. And as you were talking about the walkie-talkies, the brand name Micronta, however you say that, that comes to mind. And I recall probably the same walkie-talkies that you had as a kid. I recall playing with walkie-talkies that were Radio Shack with the Morse code on the back, just like you're talking about. And I would be willing to bet that your walkie-talkies lasted until the antenna got broke off, because they had those collapsible antennas, and if you weren't careful when you pushed the antenna down, they would kink, and that was the end of it. Once you got the kink in the antenna, you could pull it back out, but you could never really get it to collapse right, and it would break off. And then once the antenna was damaged, their performance diminished, and that was pretty much the end of them. But and I think I recall that model car that you're talking about. I never had one, but I knew a kid that did, and he was always frustrated because he could never get it to do the things that he wanted it to do, the way that he wanted it to do it. But his expectations were high because he wanted to be able to navigate, around chairs and underneath table legs and things like that. And I think it was more suited to do those kind of operations in an open space like a driveway. But we grew up out in the county, and most of our driveways were gravel, so we didn't have those kind of surfaces to play with cars like that on. But in the Commodore 64, I had one too. I think it was later. Probably I didn't have mine until 86 or 87, and or 88 maybe. And we actually used it as a word processor, and we published a local music newspaper on it for year and a half. We did all of the word processing, and we sent all those files to a newsprint company that would typeset those files, and they would screen our photos, and they would put a newspaper together for us. We once a month publication with band schedules and special events and interviews with bar owners and bands and that kind of stuff. So we did that from probably about 1988 to roughly 1991 or so. There's no money in it, so I wasn't able to make a go of it, but it was fun. It was a good experience. Yeah, as far as radios, yeah, we've all got our share of those. But parts cleaner, that's a great idea. I hadn't even considered that. So good luck. I hope Santa's able to bring you one of those. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 414, Matt in Kennesaw. Matt, can you tell us about your Christmas past and what you hope to get this year?
Thanks, Justin. Well, I was listening to everybody else, and I was like, oh, yeah, I got that too. I really liked it. I definitely had those Radio Shack walkie-talkies. I believe they were a single channel. Mine was anyway, channel 14, and they did have that same defect with the antennas that once they changed it, they broke, and the range was really limited. Other couple gifts from Christmas past when I was a kid that I really enjoyed was a Red Ryder BB gun, and yes, I almost did put my eye out with it, and an air hockey table, which me and my younger brother must have played hours of air hockey on. So those are some of the most memorable gifts in the past. And in terms of for this Christmas season, I guess really it came a little early. I've got one of these VTech radios, and I'm also one of the newer members to the group. I'm going to go ahead and break there and turn it back over to you, Justin.
All right, Matt. Well, I think we lost the very last of your report there. So I think I heard you say that you have a BTEC radio, but I didn't hear what you say you were hoping to get for Christmas this year. So can you come back with that?
Saying radio dropped. So probably since the one I have is the portable, I'm probably looking for something that is a handheld, probably something in the BTEC range, just because I think they're good entry-level radios for where I'm at. So I'm not sure what, if I want to do GMRS. I'm studying for my technician license, so I may get the technician license first and then just get a ham radio.
Fantastic. Yes. Glad to hear that you're studying for your technician license. We definitely encourage the pursuit of all aspects of the radio hobby, and we definitely encourage ham radio participation. It's just the next the natural next step, and that's GMRS is a great way to get your feet wet in radio, and ham radio is just the next logical place to go from here. We refer to GMRS as the gateway habit to all radio hobbies. So excellent stuff. I hope that you're able to come up with a radio that will serve you in the ham world. And once you do get your ticket, definitely come back to the GMRS side of the fence and talk to us, because there are plenty of hams here that would very much like to engage you on the other bands. So you can meet up here and have conversations about what repeaters and what bands you'd like to work, and then carry on your conversations on the other frequencies. That happens quite regularly around here, and it's very cool. Thank you for that, Matt. It's great to hear about your Red Ryder BB gun and your air hockey experiences. I love air hockey. I'm not very good at it, but I sure enjoy playing it. Yeah, that's a great game. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 26, Flip in Druid Hills. Flip, thanks again for your help on logging tonight. It is making a huge difference. And while you're telling us about your Christmas past and your hopes for this year, I'm going to scoot on over to the other desk and see if I can resolve this logging issue. But have at it. Let's hear what you've got. All right. Well, Hot Wheels. That sounds, it sounds like an interesting thing. When I was a kid, I had a buddy who had a Hot Wheels collection, and he must have had, he had several of those cases, those fold-up cases, and I don't know how many cars a case would hold, but he must have had 10 or 12 or 15 of those cases. He had more cases than you could sit down in an evening and go through. And if you went over to visit with him and his Hot Wheels, you could get one car out and you could play with it. And if you wanted to play with a different car, you had to put that car away first. And that was his rule. And, and I think part of that was because he knew, and everybody knows, that if you have 2 or 3 or 4 cars out, the natural thing to do with Hot Wheels is to crash them together. And he wasn't having any part of that. So you got to play with one car at a time. But he was an avid collector when he was 10, 11, 12 years old, and I would be willing to bet, haven't talked to him in probably 35 years, but I'd be willing to bet he still has that collection, and he probably has continued to add to it. Very impressive stuff. But, for me, Hot Wheels, that was just, I don't know, I had 6 or 7 of them, and whenever we played with the Hot Wheels cars, we'd just bang them up. I probably wasn't doing it right. But what are your plans for this year? What do you want for Christmas this year?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm interested in getting more into HF, so I was looking for an end-fed half-wave 80 through 10 meter from myantennas.com. Is that specific enough?
Ah, yes. So if Santa is listening, you're looking for an end-fed half-wave 80 through 10 meter, and I believe you said it's available at myantennas.com. Hint, hint. Okay. Well, I hope that is exactly what Santa brings, and that'll be cool. Do you have the trees and do you have the space to be able to put an antenna like that up? Okay, I lost you in the noise there, Flip. Signal is a little bit rough tonight, but I heard you say you had a 450-foot lot and that you have some big oak trees in the back. So it sounds like you have the elements needed to be able to get an antenna in the air. So that's fantastic stuff. I've got a bunch of great ideas for getting an antenna up into a tree. And like I say, there are a bunch of great ideas. None of them work, but if you want to hear any of them, just give me a call sometime, and I'll give you several good options of what not to do, and then you can narrow down your process from there. So thank you for that, Flip, and again, thanks for your help with the log tonight. Next on my list is Atlanta 948. Gary here in Woodstock. Gary is in and out with us tonight. So thanks, Gary, for checking in. Hope that you're still monitoring, and if not, we'll catch up with you again soon. And that brings me next to Atlanta 403, Bobby in White County. Bobby, how are you doing this evening? What do you have for memorable Christmas past, and what are you hoping for this year?
Well, good evening, Mr. 946. And after reading your post on Facebook about tonight's subject, I started thinking about it, and yeah, years ago when I was a little kid, yeah, we had almost every year get one of the great Tonka toys, the real ones, the fire engine, the real metal Tonka toys, when they knew how to make Tonka toys. But then I started thinking about one year, around 74, 75, I got the Radio Shack Electronics Dictionary, thicker than a phone book, and I loved that book. And I guess sometime in the early 80s, when my parents moved down to Florida, they had a garage sale and sold all the stuff in New Jersey, and I think that book got sold. So I started thinking about that book and how great it was to get it for Christmas that year. So sure enough, I looked on eBay, and there it was for $4. So my this year's Christmas present will be here Tuesday, and it's like combining the past and the present all in one. So that was a good post you had, and worked out nice. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Well, that's very cool. And, you know, I do recall Radio Shack, for many of us, I guess, was probably our source for information and education in the electronics world. You know, I lived way out in the county, so a visit to Radio Shack was kind of a big deal. And so while we were there, I tried to capitalize on as much as I could, and because I knew it was going to be a while before we'd ever go back. And that's one thing that it was always easy to convince the parents, the parental units, into acquiring were books. And I loved the cookbook schematic books by Forrest Mims. Those things were so cool to go through, and you could really come to an understanding of how things worked just by studying some of the circuit diagrams and the schematics in those books. And it was a very well, that was the root of my electronics education, was from Forrest Mims books. And it's like Christmas twice when you can go back and get you know, the electronics dictionary that you had as a youth and get that replaced for $4, and not $40 or $400, but for $4. That's like a Christmas present twice. So congratulations! Glad to hear that you were able to score that. That is fantastic. So Merry Christmas to you, and thank you for that little story. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 172, Greg in Bremen. Greg, how are you doing this evening? And can you tell us about your memorable Christmas past, and what do you hope to get this year?
Good evening to you, Justin. Like everyone else, I had a lot of good things when I was a kid. Simple things. Bicycles, BB guns, a shotgun, and one I really remember was a G.I. Joe Army tank, and it shot plastic bullets at the little Army man. And as far as now, I'd like to say this, I got everything I need, and I really just, want a simple time at Christmas, be around folks and family, and enjoy that.
Yeah, we do get to an age where those are the things that mean the most. But yeah, the GI Joe soldiers and that stuff. I never had the Army tanks, but they sure were fun to play with and play little Army scenes and stuff like that. On the farm that I grew up on, there was a field we had that didn't get a lot of use, and it would go several seasons before it would ever see any implements. And so there was a ravine that would wash through a corner of it, and that ravine would get to be uh, maybe 18 to 24 inches deep and probably about 3 feet across. It was big enough to hang up a machine if you weren't careful trying to get across it. So we try not to let go too many seasons go by without dragging a plow or something across that to keep it leveled out. But that was a kind of a hazard area there on the farm, and that was a great area. In fact, I bet you could go there today and put a shovel in the ground, and you'd probably dig up some plastic army men, because I played with them in that little ravine area all the time. We had all kinds of battles across that little ditch, and it was dry most of the time. It was only ever when it rained that it would erode out. But I had a lot of fun there playing with those things. But yeah, gathering with family and friends, and that's the kind of thing that's even more valuable today than maybe it would have been last year, just because of the pandemic, and we've had so much social distancing and antisocial behaviors through the season, through the year. So hopefully we can put an end to that very soon. But great stuff, Greg. Glad to hear from you this evening, and Merry Christmas to you. Next on my list, I have Atlanta 780 Houston in Austell. Houston, how are you doing this evening? And tell us about your Christmas past and what you hope for this year. All right. Well, I thought I heard Houston check in there. I thought he doubled with Atlanta 403, but maybe I heard things. Houston, are you there? No Houston. Okay, no Houston. So, all right. Well, I guess that's my bad. I'm just going to go ahead and leave him in the log, and I'll show him as in and out. But that'll bring me next to McDonough 22, Tim in Stockbridge. Happy birthday, Tim, belated as it is. And tell us about your birthday. Not your birthday. Tell us about your Christmas past and what you're hoping for this year.
Well, Justin, I had to think about it. There's been a lot of good gifts over the years, like most everybody else. I've had, presents and different kinds, and some of them stand out. But I think the one that means most to me, or it's not one in particular, but from about 1970 until the year 2000, just about my whole family lived in Florida, and I hardly ever got to see them, especially my mom and sister. And so around 2000, they moved up to Bartow County up in Cartersville. And so they were within an hour's drive of me, so at least once a weekend, I would get to drive up and see my mom and my sister and her family and my stepdad and all, which for many years went by that, it would be 3, 4, 5 years sometimes, but that I didn't get to see my mother. So from 2000 till the time she went home to be with Jesus in about 2006, I had those 6 years and those 6 Christmases and New Year's and Thanksgivings to spend with my family up there in Cartersville and eating good food and cooking with my mama and eating with my mama and joking with my mama and my sister and playing games and having a good time. So I think that was probably the best, most memorable and best Christmas present I could have is when they had moved back up here from Florida after all those years, and I was able to spend those last years with my family. And now my sister's remarried, and she lives in Montana. My son lives in Washington State. And so I'm basically the only family left down here, so I'm all by myself again. So not really hoping for anything particular this year. Santa usually skips over my house these days. But just quiet time at home and looking forward to this COVID thing being over. But just enjoying the time of the season and all the music and the lights and all that, and also at the same time remembering what the season is all about, that we're celebrating the birth of our Savior, Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And so that's it for me. I'll throw it back to you in net control there, Justin.
All right, Tim. Well, thank you for those comments. That's some great stuff. Family, it all comes back around to that, and to be able to spend Christmas with family, especially as we get older, that is the most important thing. Yeah, what a great opportunity to have family move up into the general area where you're at, and have that proximity. My family is mostly in Indiana. Some of it's in Florida, some of it's in California, and we don't see the California folks that much, but we do from time to time. Every few years we seem to have a reason to get together. But very cool stuff. And yeah, thanks Tim also for mentioning, you're right. The reason for the season is the birth of Christ, and the salvation that his life and his sacrifice promises to us. So that's also an important thing to remember for this time of year. And thank you for that. Next on my list, I have CW14 Steve in Athens. Steve, your signal is booming through tonight. You sounded fantastic, and looking forward to hearing more from you. But I've got you in the log as in and out. So that brings me next to Atlanta 60, Gary in Noonan. Gary, can you tell us about your Christmas past and memorable gifts, and what are you hoping for Christmas this year?
Well, good evening, everybody. And Justin, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much for running the net like you do. It's definitely a wonderful experience to monitor. I don't get on here very often. I'm going to work hard to try and be here more often, but as many of you know, I've been super busy this year and had a lot to do. I did read your post, and like others have indicated, they've given some thought to it. So me being an old-timer, maybe one of the higher few that's up in ages, I've got a few stories to tell concerning Christmas. There'll be three of them. I call them the heirs of Christmas. As a child, as a parent, and then as a single adult. I'll break. So I may name off some gifts that I got through Christmas when I was a young lad, starting around 1956 up through 1959. You might hear about these. You may want to research them if you've never heard. But I used to enjoy getting the Erector set, which was a metal box full of bunches of metal pieces that you could build things with and make things happen. Also, a complement to that was the hydrodynamic set. You could build these structures out of plastic locking girders, and you had water tanks and water pumps and hoses running everywhere, and you could actually have a functioning fluid thing to play with. Also, living up in Cincinnati, I lived in an area where I had the best place to sled ride, and I always looked forward that year when I got my first flexible flyer sled, which to me was the... And last but not least, the gentleman talking about the G.I. Joe Army tank. I had a pair of Fanner 50 cap guns. There were two of them. You had them in holsters, and you had plastic bullets that you put in there, and it would fire plastic projectiles out of the guns. They were really cool. But moving on, the story I want to share. Break. In 1959, I came from a large family. I had three other brothers besides myself, and mom and dad. Christmas was always a big deal. Huge tree, manger up on the mantle, decorations inside and outside. It was a big deal, big event. That particular year, and when we did Christmas, we did our family Christmas at home, and then later in the afternoon we'd go to Grandma's and enjoy the presents at Grandma's house too. So that was always fun. But this particular year, my parents declared that my oldest brother and I were not worthy of getting any Christmas gifts from Santa. We'd been bad, and we hadn't changed our ways, and the hope that we could expect lumps of coal and switches in our stocking would be about the best we could get, right?
Fantastic.
Well, of course, you know, we all laughed and giggled about all of that and said, well, yeah, okay, ha, 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 that's funny, that's funny. Holy crap. Sunday morning, we get up. There's not the first present under the tree for Gary or John. Of course, my other two brothers, they were showered in gifts and got all sorts of stuff. And right over there on the mantle wasn't any candy, wasn't any apples, wasn't any oranges. There were dirty, nasty lumps of coal and some old, nasty switches that probably my mother wore out on my backside through the summer, hanging out of them stockings. Let me tell you, there were some sad pusses that day, to say the least. Right? Well, I was convinced, and I learned my lesson, by golly, and I was going to straighten up my act because this was a huge disappointment to me. And it was a black day. And, of course, my older brother, he's just acting out because he was an older teenager, and, you know, that's what older teenagers do. So anyway, we get off to Grandma's, and I come dragging out of the car, and I come into Grandma's house, and I'm crying, and she's going, my God, what's wrong with you, blah, blah, blah. And I told her I'd been bad all year and got switches and cold, no presents. She couldn't stand it any longer. She said, well, maybe Santa came over here to the house and dropped your gifts off here instead of at home. And sure enough, there was a bunch there. So that was my most memorable child. As a parent, this will be very short. Let me break. So I'll put you in the time frame of about 1980. I had three children at the time. Anybody that's been a parent and has children and buys gifts for their kids for Christmas know exactly what I'm about to say. The three most dreaded words. Some assembly required.
Oh, yeah.
Break. Okay. Off as a single adult. I'm now a single parent, taking care of my kids, doing some dating, and I met this very wonderful lady, and during our courtship, I happened to get my private pilot's license, and I really enjoyed flying and wanted to fly everybody everywhere, and I just really got into that hobby quite a bit. And she happened to have two sons, and both her sons were pilots. So every time we got together, it was always a big discussion. We were always planning trips, going here, going there. We'd go to Panama City, we'd go to Hilton Head. We'd fly all over the place and have a good time. They were in Nashville, so I'd fly up to Nashville and pick them up. So that year at Christmas, we get together and we're all sitting around the tree, and they make me wait till last. And now comes this little box that they give me. Let me break. So I can't imagine what it is. I figure, okay, this is interesting. So I open the box up, and sure enough, there is a set of brand spanking new keys to a Cessna 182. I was beside myself. Little to only learn, it was a gag. Lord knows where those keys were coming from and what airplane they went to, but they sure look pretty good. Has Cessna on them and look like the real thing. So no matter if you're a child or if you're a parent or if you're an adult, you're always going to have a lot of joys and a lot of disappointments through the years. and it's always fun to look back on. But either way, it's always a great time. It's a great celebration for a holiday, and I've certainly enjoyed them. This year, I probably am not going to expect anything. Santa and Mrs. Claus has spent tons of money this year, and I've even told my wife, do not buy me any tools. I have more tools than I know what to do with. I'm still sorting tools in the new shop. So it'll be a relaxing time with COVID like it is. We won't get to see the family, so we'll just rejoice that we're healthy and doing well. And in a short period of time, like on the 29th, I will crack open the...
I think the timeout timer got you there, Gary. The last I heard was in a short time you would crack open and then nothing.
Oh, I might have timed out. I said in a short period of time I will turn 70 on the 29th of this month, and I will crack open a bottle of Captain Morgan and celebrate that evening.
Ah, well, that sounds like an evening worth celebrating. Happy pending birthday to you, and always enjoy Captain Morgan. We never left the pier without Captain Morgan on board. So hope to get the boat out and some time to enjoy it this next season. We didn't break it out a single time this last year. We've been so busy. But those were some great stories. The erector set and the hydrodynamics set, the flexible flyer sled, and the Spanner 50 cap gun. I have memories of many of those things, but I didn't have them myself. I did have the flexible flyer, but the thing that we used the most was a toboggan. We would generally, somebody would ride a horse with a rope around the saddle horn, pulling a toboggan around, and because where we lived in Indiana was pretty flat, you're gonna have a tough time finding a hill worthwhile to ride any sort of a sled down. But the toboggan was a lot of fun. Get back and forth between the berms on the road, and the challenge was to get going hard enough into one of the berms to knock the riders off the toboggan. But that's good stuff. Great stories. I love the story about no gifts from Santa except for coal and switches. I can just imagine, a young man living through that and the disappointment you must have felt. It's a very enjoyable story, and Grandma saved the day, so good stuff. Well, thank you for that, Gary, and that brings me to the end of my log here. So at this point, I'll break, and we'll see if we have any late check-ins. Anyone at all wishing to check in to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net, this will be your last chance. And the floor is open if anyone has any questions, comments, suggestions, or remarks. Net Control standing by.
This is UMN 733, Atlanta 36, Bill, portable. Atlanta 32, checking in and out of Denver, Colorado tonight.
Sorry about that. See if we have one more here.
This is Atlanta 474 WRDF 981 checking in and out. Have a good evening, everyone.
474, you're going to make me look you up? Let's see if I can find 474. Gary in Marietta. Okay, Net Control acknowledging. Atlanta 36, Bill, on the portable, location to be determined. And we have Atlanta 32, Chris in Denver, Colorado, checking in and out. Thank you for checking in with us this evening, Chris. Hope you're staying warm in this crazy weather, and stay safe out there on the road. And we have Atlanta 474, Gary in Marietta. Gary, I've got you in the log as in and out. Thank you for checking in with us this evening. Looking forward to hearing more from you, perhaps next week. That will bring me now to Atlanta 36, Bill, on the portable. Bill, can you tell us about your memorable Christmas past, and what do you hope to get this year?
Good evening, and good evening to the net. Hope I'm making it in. Most memorable Christmas was in 1970 or 71, getting a bona fide used Johnson 23-channel CB radio that the parents allowed me to install in the family vehicle. It was great. Looking for this year, I should be wanting, let me cycle,
A Motorola?
should be wishing for peace on earth and vaccines for man, but I just want more batteries for the portables. Net control.
Battery-powered toys. It's something we never seem to outgrow. The toys get more expensive and the batteries become more elaborate, and performance changes through the years, but it always boils down to batteries, doesn't it? Well, I suppose peace on earth and vaccines are worthy things to hope for Christmas or soon thereafter. But I don't know. I don't know if that's going to be the big factor we hope for it to be, or if that's just going to prolong things. Who knows? But I am anxious to see an end to this age that we are currently enduring. Would very much like to be able to get back to social gatherings and events and life prior to COVID. All right. Well, I'm going to open up the floor one more time for late check-ins. I think we've got all that we're going to get tonight, and we've got a good run at it. But anybody else, this is your last chance to get in here, and we'd love to hear from you. Net control, standing by.
That was, but I think you opened up the floor. This is Atlanta 911 WRAS 515 Cassandra in Woodstock.
Oh, you just barely made it in. I'm glad you did. Atlanta 911 Cassandra in Woodstock. It's great to hear from you. And at this time, you're on the perch. So tell us about your memorable Christmas past. And what do you hope to get for Christmas this year? Okay, last station, not sure what that was. We had a good clean carrier and no audio. So if that was you, Atlanta 911, please try that again. Your signal is good. We just didn't hear anything. So get up close to the mic, speak nice and loud, and let's try that again. All right, that's a bummer. I'm not sure what's going on. All right, well, unfortunately, we get the same thing this time as well. We've got a carrier, a clean signal with no audio. So we're going to have to investigate what's going on with that. But we're at the point now where I think it's just a good time to go ahead and wrap this thing up, and we'll do that. This will conclude the North Georgia GMRS net. Tonight we had a total of 22 check-ins, including myself. At this time, Net Control will be returning the repeaters back to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. Thank you for allowing me to serve as your Net Control this evening. Good night, everyone, and Merry Christmas. This is Atlanta 946, WQIR 514, Justin, and I'm clear.
Atlanta 123, WRFP 619, clear.
Atlanta 180, WRBT 591, and I'm clear.
74 clear.
299, WRJE 398, clear.
All right. Okay, YouTube folks, let me switch the camera over here. Thanks for hanging out with us this evening. Appreciate you sticking through all that. We had a little technical snafu with our logging. Give me one moment here. I'll be right back with you. I'm just going to bring the audio down on the radio a little bit so I can talk to you. And once again, thanks for sticking around for all of that. A little technical snafu with logging, but I think we got through it. So I'm not sure who that is in Wisconsin, but I'm going to decline that call. We're going to go ahead and close this thing up, but we look forward to catching up with all of you again real soon. So again, thanks and good evening. Okay. Nope, that does not kill the audio. All right, well, thanks and good evening again.